Thank you so much to Riot for allowing me the opportunity to reveal this world-exclusive card reveal from Spirit Forge, the second set of Riftbound. Once we've looked at the card, we've analysed it, we've looked at all the synergies, we're then going to take a look at all of the other Spirit Forge cards which have been revealed so far. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more Riftbound content. Thanks again to Riot. You have got to see this, is the flavor text of this card. Introducing what I think is a meta powerhouse. It is the Gem Jammer. It is a 2 energy, 2 might fury card. It's Bandle City and Mech tags, which are probably going to be quite relevant, by the way. When you play me, give a unit ganking this turn. This card is brilliant. It's going to see a lot of competitive play, and let me explain why. First and foremost, in Riftbound, 2 energy cards are super important. You don't want to just say pass on your first turn without doing anything. The current meta, certainly in Origins, the first set is quite tempo orientated, and skipping your first turn can feel absolutely disastrous and really, really bad. So a lot of decks are looking to play between 7, maybe even 12 2 energy cards. So you're going to want to play a lot of 2 energy cards. So if this card is good, it's going to see a lot of play, just by nature of the fact that it's a 2 energy card. And it is brilliant. It's not the best card to play on your first turn. It's going to do nothing. It's just going to be 2 might. But that gives your deck a lot of consistency because later on in the game, this card is going to be absolutely outstanding. The ability on Gem Jammer is so, so strong. And we're going to take a little look now at the potential synergies of Gem Jammer with some existing cards, but also some of the newly revealed cards from the upcoming set. So imagine I conquer a battlefield with my Kaiser and I trigger the conquer effect and I draw 1 card. The next turn I hold that battlefield, my Kaiser gains me a point for holding, but it's then going to be very difficult for me to trigger the Kaiser ability again to conquer, because if I move back to my base, my Kaiser's going to be exhausted and I'm not going to be able to move her again. However, if I can give my Kaiser ganking, thanks to the Gem Jammer, my Kaiser could then move from the battlefield she held over to the other battlefield. And then if I can conquer that battlefield as well, not only am I going to score another point, but I'm also going to trigger that conquer effect again. So Gem Jammer has a lot of synergy with cards that have this conquer effect. Another thing which is quite easy to overlook is the synergy that Gem Jammer has with cards like Jinx Demolitionist, which have this assault keyword. When you're an attacker, they get +2 might. So Jinx is brilliant at attacking a battlefield, conquering, and then taking over. But then once you hold the battlefield, it has a similar issue with Kaiser. Like, are you just going to retreat and move back to your base with Jinx? Sure, you probably are. But then in comes the Gem Jammer. Instead, you give your Jinx ganking, and suddenly you can make use of that assault ability very, very quickly again to attack that other battlefield. So Gem Jammer has so much synergy with assault cards, with cards that have that conquer synergy. And just generally aggressive decks are going to absolutely want to play 3 copies of the Gem Jammer. But there is more synergy here still to be found, because look at this. The new legend Rumble, which is a red, blue, or Fury and Mind card. Your mechs have shields, which is +1 might when they're defenders. Well, look at that. The Gem Jammer here is in fact a mech. So direct synergy between the Rumble, legend, and the Gem Jammer, which just makes it even better if you're playing a mech deck. And Rumble also has this signature spell, Danger Zone, which has the synergy with mechs to give your mechs +1 might this turn. And there's also this new repeat keyword, which allows you to replay this card once for 1 additional energy and 1 additional power. And you could therefore give your Gem Jammer +2 might in this turn. But of course, if you've got multiple Gem Jammers, if you've got multiple mechs, there's going to be huge synergy between Danger Zone, between Rumble, and between Gem Jammer. But we're not done there either, because look at this. The new Draven Legend card, which is definitely one that has caught the eye. When you win a combat, draw 1. Well, Gem Jammer also has synergy with Draven, because, again, if you're moving like your Kaiser, moving your Jinx from one battlefield to the other, thanks to ganking, you're able to start another combat and potentially win another combat more quickly than you would have been able to otherwise, and then you can draw more cards. So Gem Jam is also great with Draven, but we're not done there either, because look at this Draven, the champion unit, which of course you could play as your chosen champion in a Draven deck, but you could just play this card in any Fury deck alongside the Gem Jammer. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted. We'll take a look at the gold gear tokens in a little minute. And when I attack or defend, you may pay a power, and if you do, give me +2 might this turn. So Gem Jammer, again, it's going to help your Draven win more combats. You win the first combat with your Draven, and then you hold that battlefield rather than having to slowly move back to base, and then the next turn you move back in and start another combat. You can surprise your opponent, take control of that other battlefield, win a combat, and have more synergy there. And there's also therefore synergy with a card like the Spinning Axe, which is this new equipment. This is Draven's signature gear. Equipment is a way of buffing up your cards, predominantly like the Spinning Axe. When you play it, it equips to one of your cards. So of course you could equip to your Gem Jammer, but moreover, let's say you've got 4 energy available, you've got a Kaiser at a battlefield which just held, you can equip the Spinning Axe for 2 and 1 power, and then suddenly your Kaiser has 7 might. You play the Gem Jammer, your Kaiser gets ganking, move to the other battlefield, you conquer that other battlefield, you score a point, you draw a card. The synergy here with the Gem Jammer is absolutely amazing. And again, like I mentioned, just having a high density of 2 energy cards in this game is so important, because it's going to give you consistency. You don't want to play the Gem Jammer on your first turn. You'd rather play something else like a Traveling Merchant, but it's much better to play a Gem Jammer on your first turn than play nothing at all. So this card for me is a 9 out of 10. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's going to see a bunch of play, and I'm super grateful again to Riot for allowing me to reveal this card. But without any further ado, let's look at all of the other cards which have been revealed so far for Spirit Forged. So Riot actually sent me a handy little PDF to explain some of the new mechanics in the upcoming set Spirit Forged. So there's equipment, which have 2 text boxes. While not attached to a unit, only the upper text box is used. That's this part. And then when it is attached to a unit, you're going to like slide it underneath like this, and you'll only be able to see the bottom part of the equipment. So for example, with Doran Shield, if it's equipped, the attached card has +1 might and the tank ability. And if it's not attached, if it's just a gear like at your base, then it will have this part of the ability. Usually it's just going to say the equip ability, which is paying a power cost to attach to a unit you control. Then there's 2 new keywords. There is Quick Draw, which you may play this equipment as a reaction. If you do, attach it to a unit you control immediately when it enters the board. So being able to attach a equipment immediately rather than like putting it down onto the board and then equipping it. You can surprise your opponent during a combat. You can attach it and surprise your opponent by having additional might on one of your units. And then the other one is Weapon Master. When this unit is played, you may choose an equipment you control, whether or not it is attached to a unit already, and attach it to this unit by paying that equipment's equip cost reduced by the number. So for example, with Lucian here, when you play me, you may equip one of your equipment to me for 1 power less. So basically you can move an equipment either that's unattached or attached onto Lucian, and it costs you 1 power less because of the Weapon Master ability. And then there's also the repeat keyword, which allows you to repeat a spell's effect by paying an additional cost. You can only repeat the cost once, although you can choose new targets for its effect. So those are the brand new keywords, equipment, and all that sort of stuff. Thank you to the channel sponsor Card Market. If you're in Europe, Card Market is the best place to buy your singles for Riftbound. It's the biggest online marketplace for TCGs in Europe. Okay, the first and only battlefield we're looking at today, as it's the only one revealed so far, is Treasure Hoard. When you conquer here, you may pay 1 energy to play a gold gear token exhausted. The gold gear token is this, very comparable to a multicolored seal. A seal which is a one-time use, but you can pay any color power cost with it. I think gold gear is absolutely extremely good in the right deck. The question though is this battlefield good? Because the gold gear is going to come in exhausted, which means you can't use it immediately, and you have to pay 1 energy to actually spawn it. So a lot of the time, you're going to move in and conquer this battlefield and not actually have any energy to create the gold gear token. However, interestingly, you could argue that's actually a good thing because you pick the battlefields for your deck, right? So if you have a deck which has an abundance of spare energy, but you don't have like access to much power, or you want to be playing lots of power costs, this could actually be pretty good, because a sign of a good battlefield is a battlefield which you get more advantage from than your opponent does. So the fact that you actually have to pay 1 energy to spawn the token means that this battlefield is probably going to be quite difficult for your opponent to take advantage of. So I think in the right style of deck, this one actually has quite a lot of potential, and I think it can see competitive play, particularly as a battlefield which you play in game number 1 of a best of 3, when you don't know if you're going first or second. It's quite neutral. I think it's actually got some serious potential. I think it will see competitive play in the right context. Let's take a very quick look at the legends for Fury before we look at the Fury cards, so we can get an idea of what the new style of Fury decks might be. Rumble, which we looked at, I think it's a really good legend ability. It's quite comparable to Master Yi in a sense. Master Yi gives that +2 might when defending alone, and we know that that's been a very, very strong legend in the first set of Riftbound. This is giving your mechs +1 might while they're defenders, which is quite niche, to be honest, but I would imagine that basically you're going to have quite an aggressive deck which looks to dominate both battlefields in the early game and just hold, and try and get that 8th point very, very quickly. Signature spell Danger Zone, again, synergizing with just a very wide board with lots of mechs, giving your mechs +1 might this turn, potentially +2 might this turn, and it's also something that you can use in your opponent's turn. So if you're at 7 points, you're trying to hold, your opponent moves in, all of your mechs get +1 because they're defender, you can give them +2 more might. If you've got 3 mechs, right, that can get out of hand very, very quickly. So Rumble's going to be a very aggressive deck that looks to win quite quickly. We've also got Lucian, which is red and orange, or Fury and Body. He has equipment synergy, where your equipment each give assault, which is +1, while the equipped unit is an attacker. I have to say I'm not quite as impressed by Lucian because it's a little bit more niche, right? I think in a Rumble deck, you should have access to a ton of mechs, and it should be quite easy to get value from this. Whereas with Lucian, it's going to be quite difficult to have more than 1 card that actually has equipment attached to it, right? It's doable, but it's going to be quite difficult. So I actually have a feeling that Lucian's not great. It's my early impression, but we'll have to see if that's true. Like, +1 might for an attacker is still a big deal, but how often are you going to be able to have 2 cards attacking that are both equipped with a equipment, right? Not that often, I would imagine. Lucian's signature spell, Relentless Pursuit, which is an action. Move a friendly unit. You may attach an equipment with the same controller to it. This turn, that unit has, when I conquer, you may move me to my base. What this basically means is this part, which equipment with the same controller, it just means you can't equip your opponent's gear to your cards. That's all that means. But this is a really powerful ability. Move a friendly unit and then attach something to it, and then you can return to base. That is actually got a lot of synergy with this Lucian Purifier, because it means that you can move in, conquer a battlefield, move back to the base, all in one big swoop. Obviously, there's potential movement synergy in there as well, but I think that the signature spell is actually very, very good. So Lucian, will have to say, I'm not too convinced by it. Draven seems outstanding. When you win a combat, draw 1. I mean, you can't really ask for much more, right? So red, purple, same colours as Annie, same colours as Jinx, but I think Draven is definitely a contender for best legend of the new set. And of course, the signature spell, Spinning Axe, Quick Draw, which is a new keyword. So this equipment here, the bottom part of the card, you're basically going to place underneath a unit card, and it would get +3, which is a lot. It costs 2 energy, 1 power of either red or purple. And then the quick draw ability, which is very, very significant because you can use this as like a combat trick, right? Your opponent tries to deal damage to your card in a combat, and then bam, you can use Spinning Axe as a +3 might to your card, which is actually very significant. You don't have that many ways of buffing up your cards in red and purple. I think this is absolutely brilliant. I think it's a really, really strong card for sure. Really, really good. Of course, we've got the Draven, which we looked at. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted. That's this, which is really, really good. I think this card's also outstanding. When I attack or defend, you may pay a red power if you do give me +2 might this turn. Man, I'm good is accurate. This is a outstanding card. 4 energy and 4 might is like a very, very good thing, particularly because it doesn't cost you any power to play it. I really, really like 4 energy cards which don't cost any power. I don't want to be recycling runes at that stage in the game. It's just a brilliant card. I think it's one of the best as well. Very, very strong. There is also this alternative art. And I did want to show you guys a purple card quickly because it is a Draven card. So it could be your chosen champion in the Draven deck. I haven't actually looked at this one yet. This is my first reaction. So this is a 6 energy, 1 power, 6 might card. So quite a bit more expensive. It has deflect. And the first time I win a combat each turn, you score 1 point. When I die in combat, choose an opponent, they score 1 point. And that is a fascinating card. My favorite cards in Riftbound are these kinds of cards which can score you points in unorthodox ways to win the game in a way that your opponent's not expecting. Suddenly with a card like Draven Audacious, you are threatening to win the game when you're at 5 points instead of having to be at 6. It is expensive. I think that it's probably going to be overshadowed quite significantly by Draven Vanquisher as a chosen champion. I think this is like a perfect chosen champion. You can play it on your second turn every single time. It gives your deck so much consistency and allows you to build your deck in quite a unorthodox manner because you technically don't have to play any other 4 might cards, 4 energy cards in your deck because you can just always play this on turn 2 if you so desire. So I think this one's going to be maybe overshadowed by that, but it could also be a very interesting card to have, for example, on your sideboard, right? You could sideboard it in for game 2 and 3 in specific matchups. Yeah, it's definitely very, very interesting. Any kind of card which can score you points, I think should be taken extremely seriously, particularly as a sideboard card. So I quite like it. The other red legend in the next set is Rek'Sai. When you conquer, you may exhaust me to reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, then recycle the rest. So this is basically like a card draw legend also. Looking at the top 2, playing 1, and then putting the other to the bottom. And you don't have to play that card either because the 2 cards you look at, you are still going to have to pay their costs, but you don't have to play them if you don't want to. But this is essentially giving you access to an additional card in your hand whenever you conquer. Not exactly, right? But it's kind of comparable to the Draven ability. Draven is when you win a combat, you just draw 1, whereas this card is when you conquer, you can look at the top 2 cards and play 1 of them. So it's sort of card draw, sort of not. Obviously, you get access to the order, the yellow colors instead. And the Rek'Sai signature spell, rather, is a 2 energy, 1 power, reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1 of them, reducing its cost by 2. Draw any you did not play this way. This card's really, really good. You basically pay 1 power to play a card from the top 2 and draw the other. So it's really good, particularly if you've got a seal, either a red or a yellow seal, or of course a gold gear token as well. You're paying kind of 0 in a way to draw a card and play a card because the cost of the next card is going to be reduced. It's not quite as simple as that, but this card is absolutely outstanding, particularly, again, if you can pay this power cost for free. Really, really strong. So I would say a bunch of really, really strong legends for red. Probably Lucian is the one I'm most skeptical about, but I think that the other 3 all have serious potential of being competitive decks. Let's look at all the red cards. We've got Longsword, which is a gear. It is a 2 energy, 1 power gear / equipment, which can give +2 might to one of your cards. It has quick draw, which means that when you play it, it attaches immediately, which is very, very important. It also means that you can do this as a combat trick. So this is very comparable to Draven's spinning axe, but it is just worse. But it is, of course, available to be played in decks which aren't playing Draven as the legend. I think it's still quite good, but it is significantly worse than the signature spell, which you would absolutely expect from a gameplay design point of view. Signature spells should be better than the counterparts, but I think this one could still see some play. And then if the unit that this card is equipped to or attached to dies, then this gear just kind of goes back to your base and you can equip it later for 1 power to something else. I think it's okay, not outstanding, not terrible. +2 might as a reaction is an interesting way of keeping cards alive. If you compare this to like Discipline in green, right? Discipline gives +2, draws you a card, and doesn't cost a power. But of course, this you could equip multiple times throughout the game. And red just doesn't really have access to many ways of buffing up your characters, whereas green does. And Discipline's one of the best cards in the game. So no doubt it's like not great if you compare it across domains, but it is quite a unique thing available for Fury that you don't have much of elsewhere. So I think it can see some competitive play, particularly if you have like heavy gear synergy. But for me, it's probably a little bit lacking, but we'll have to see. It could be good. We've got Piercing Light. This one I'm also reacting to for the first time. It's a 2 energy, 1 power spell card, which has the repeat ability. So the repeat ability allows you to play this card twice, maximum of twice, but you can choose different targets for it on the second time. And the repeat ability, you're basically just paying the costs twice. So you can either pay 2 energy and 1 power to trigger the effect once, or you can pay 4 energy and 2 power to trigger the effect twice. So a bit of flexibility built in with this card. And it's deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield, then deal 2 to up to 1 other unit. And that other unit could be anywhere. So being able to deal 2 to a unit at a base is quite interesting. One card that comes to mind that would be really good against is the Lux Champion. That's like a 4 energy, 2 might card, which just chills at the base. It's like an engine card, which is just going to be exhausted a bunch to add extra energy into the player's pool. If more cards like that become popular, like engine cards which just sit at the base and have 2 might or less, I think this card could become a lot better. Of course, this other unit could be anywhere, but the important thing is that you can't deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield and then 2 more to the same unit. It would have to be 2 to a unit at a battlefield and then 2 to a different unit. But, of course, part of the huge value of this is that you've then got the repeat ability where you could deal 4 to 2 different cards, but you're going to be spending a total of 4 energy, 2 power. If you compare it to Falling Star, right? Falling Star, again, one of the best cards in the game. You can deal 3 to 2 units, and it costs you 2 energy and 2 power. So this is like worse, I would argue, but you have a little bit more flexibility with it, with the repeat mechanic. I think it's a very fascinating card. I don't love it, to be honest, but it could be good. I think it's probably a little bit expensive, and there's probably better uses of this card. But if you have a deck which is playing red seals, for example, then those power costs can become slightly mitigated. If you have like lots of gear, gold gear generation, for example, again, if you can mitigate those power costs, I think the card becomes a lot better. So that's worth considering. So don't love this one either, but it's definitely very, very interesting. That is for sure. Then we've also got Rel Magnetic, which is another 4 energy, 4 might card with no power cost. Again, I really, really love these 4 energy, no power cost cards. At this stage in the game, I don't want to be paying power costs if I can at all help it. It's got the tank ability, and when I attack, you may play an equipment with energy cost no more than 2, ignoring its cost, and attach to me. Pretty interesting, because that would also ignore the power cost. So there's obviously some synergy with Rel in a Draven deck because you've got the Spinning Axe. That's some nice synergy there because you could ignore the cost. And of course, there's also going to be synergy potentially with like the Lucian deck where you have lots of equipment. So that's definitely quite interesting. With Rel, tank, 4 might, 4 power is like decent. And then when I attack, play an equipment cost. Yeah, I think in particular, a Lucian deck is going to want to use this because I mentioned previously, it's actually going to be quite difficult to get lots of equipment attached. So a way of like doing that a little bit more cheaply could be good. I think this card's okay. I think it's got some potential. I definitely don't dislike it by any stretch. It's just going to be a deck in a card in a very specific deck that focuses on equipment, probably Lucian. All right, next let's look at the calm or the green cards, quickly reminding ourselves of the legends. We've got Ornn, which seems to be one of the highest potential legends in the game. I think another thing going for it is while Ari, the other calm and mind domain legend we currently have, is very good, it's not like completely top of the meta right now. So you would argue that there's some definite room to improve upon in green and blue. And this is very comparable to Kaiser, but focusing on gear. You can use it to power each turn to play a gear or gear abilities. I think it's got huge potential. I definitely expect this one to be very, very strong. We've got Grandmaster at Arms Jax. Not too convinced by this one. It seems a bit clunky. It's got 2 abilities, but both of the abilities require you to exhaust the card. So you can only use one of these abilities per turn. And it also focuses on equipment and sort of moving equipment around between your cards. So you can pay 1 and attach a detached equipment you control to a unit you control, or probably the slightly better ability is you can attach an attached equipment you control to a different unit you control. So you can like move equipment from one card to another. Not too convinced by that one, but we'll have to see. It's definitely hard to evaluate. We've got Aurelia, and I saw a lot of people kind of hating on this card, saying that it seemed quite bad. I think this one's got really big potential. I like the look of this one. I also think that Calm Chaos or Green Purple, Yasuo, as much as I've been enjoying playing the deck, I really don't think it's a very good legend at all. I really don't rate it, but I think that the color combination has a lot of potential. I've actually been playing Yasuo a lot this week, and I know a lot of people enjoy it. It's quite fun, but I don't think it's good. So I think that this one has potential already just to slot in as an upgrade on the other legend available for these colors. When you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me to pay a power to ready it. When you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. So this is a legend which is focusing on readying characters, and readying characters is really good. That allows you to move between battlefields quite quickly. A lot of cards in purple and green have ganking as well. Like the Yasuo deck focuses a lot on ganking and movement cards. And of course the Yasuo legend has movement synergy, while Aurelia doesn't have movement synergy directly, but the fact that you ready your cards actually is still movement synergy. And I think it's actually got really, really big potential, particularly if you're playing seals or gold gear tokens. Getting that extra power cost with this has a lot of synergy, right? Because you're paying a power. So seals and gold gear, I think could be really, really good. I think this one's got big potential. It's actually one of the decks I'm most excited to be trying out myself. We've got the Aurelia signature spell. This is a 1 energy, 1 power card with the reaction ability. It's a spell. You give a unit +2 might this turn and another unit -2 might this turn. Very, very strong. +4 essentially swing on a spell card which costs just 1 and 1 power. If you compare this to Smokescreen can give -4 might to a card, and that is a 2 energy, 1 power card, which sees some competitive play. So this costs half as much in terms of energy, and it's actually a little bit more flexible as well in terms of its use case, right? -2 to something +2, I think, is better than just a strict -4. And of course, it is limited to just Aurelia, but I think it's really, really good. Again, especially if you're playing cards which have the ability to pay power costs more cheaply, it becomes even better. So it's definitely one I like. When we've got Azir, which is green and yellow or calm and order, your sand soldiers have Weapon Master. So Weapon Master is a new keyword, which is... All right, Aurelia, champion. I think this is a brilliant chosen champion, but not necessarily the most spectacular card to have in your main deck, potentially. But I love it as a chosen champion because you can play it on your second turn when you're going second every time, and it doesn't cost a power. At 5 cost, of course, you're going to have 5 runes on your second turn. Deflectability is very, very strong. And when you choose Already Me, give me +1 might this turn. Very, very solid. With Discipline, with On Guard, you can buff this card up very, very quickly. And of course, then if you ready this character, it's going to be able to take even further advantage of those extra buffs by moving from battlefield to battlefield, potentially. I think it's a very, very strong chosen champion. And again, not necessarily the best card to have in your main deck. Part of the value of this is it's just a consistent card that you can play on your second turn going second every time, or on your third turn when you're going first every single time. I like it quite a bit. The next one is a bit of a weird one, Azir, because to me the ability is not that clear. Your sand soldiers have Weapon Master. If we actually look at what Weapon Master is described as, when this unit is played, you may choose an equipment you control, whether or not it's attached to a unit already, and attach it to this unit by paying that equipment's cost reduced by A. So for example, on Lucian, it says less than a power, but like here it doesn't actually mention the Weapon Master. So I think it's fair to assume it's like 1 power less. Your sand soldiers can basically, when you play them, equip an equipment that's already attached to one of your other units, or like not attached to one of your units but it's on the board, but it costs 1 power less. I'm going to assume that's what this ability is. And you can also pay 1 energy and exert this to play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token to your base. Use only if you've played an equipment this turn. So it's kind of similar to Victor, where you're spawning lots of tokens, but there is gear synergy, and paying 1 to play a 2 might Sand Soldier is very, very good. Paying 1 to get a 2 might token is insane value if you compare that with Victor. So it seems like a really good legend ability, to be completely honest with you. We'll have to wait and see though, because it's kind of difficult to even interpret exactly what it means. So now let's look at all of the calm cards now that we kind of know what legends we have available. We've got Doran Shield. This is a very standard equipment. It costs 1 to play down onto the board, and then if you want to equip it, it's going to cost you a power, and it gives something +1 and tank. Not great, if I'm honest, kind of underwhelming, but it's a very vanilla card, right? It's what you can kind of expect. It doesn't cost you a power to play it down on the board, and with the right synergies with things like Weapon Master, it could be reasonable, because it's not going to cost you anything to attach with Weapon Master, right? So it's actually pretty good in the right deck, I think. We've also got Guardian Angel, which is another gear. This one is costing 2 though, and it's also got the same 1 power equip cost. If I would die when attached, it gets +1 might, and if I would die, kill Guardian Angel instead. Heal me, exhaust me, and recall me. So this is kind of comparable to the set legend ability, where you attach this to something, and if it dies, like the unit dies, rather than the unit dying, Guardian Angel dies instead. So that seems crackers. That seems so good. I really, really like it. Kind of comparable to Ziona's Hourglass, which sees a lot of competitive play at the moment. And again, in the right style of deck, I think this one has big potential. I like this card a lot, actually. I think it's pretty damn interesting. We've also got Steric's Gauge, which is a 3 energy, 2 power card, very expensive. When it's equipped, something just gets +3 might, but it has the quick draw ability. So this has reaction. When you play it, attach it to a unit you control. It's extremely expensive. Wow, it is extremely expensive. 3 energy and 2 power to get +3 might. But of course, once it's down on the board, you can attach it to multiple things. Seems giga expensive to me. I'm not too impressed by this one personally. I think it's just too expensive for what it does. I doubt it's that good, but the quick draw ability is very, very powerful. That's for sure. We've got another one. It's a 3 energy and 1 power. This is Svel Songo, which I'm probably butchering. When attached, it gets +0 might, which is not a lot of might, guys. But as this unit is attached to a unit, copy that unit's text to this equipment's effects text for as long as this unit is attached to it. Okay, I remember this one now. This card's crackers. This card is so, so cool. So if you imagine you attach this to like a Yasuo, which when you move the Yasuo 3 times in a game, you score a point, right? If you attach this to a Yasuo, if you move your Yasuo 3 times, you will score 2 points. That's super cool. So I think that this is going to be particularly good with those cards which can score you points in strange ways. Like, I think that's the best use case for a card like this. I love cards which score points, and I think that this is a fascinating card in a Yasuo deck in particular. Definitely one that I would use in a Yasuo deck. It does actually cost you an additional energy as well as a power to equip it. So when you play it, it costs you 3 energy and a power. And then when you equip it, it's going to cost you another energy and a power. So it's extremely expensive. It's probably more of like a fun card rather than super competitive. But the power potential of this one is through the roof bonkers good. I love it. Maybe one of my favorite card designs of the set actually so far. And I like a lot of the cards this set. Let's look now at the blue legends and then all of the blue cards revealed so far. Okay, so of course in mind we've got Rumble, who we've already looked at. We've also got Ornn that we've already looked at. So one legend having big gear synergy similar to Kaiser, and then one having big mech synergy. So we're looking for mechs and gears. But then there's 2 other legends we haven't covered yet. We've got Ezreal, which was one of my favorite cards in Runeterra. This is the same colors as Teemo, and it is being able to be exerted, or exhausted I should say, with a reaction speed. Draw 1. That sounds good already. Use only if you've chosen enemy units and or gear twice this turn with spells or unit abilities. So in Runeterra, Ezreal would play lots of Mystic Shots, which was like dealing 2 damage to one of your opponent's cards. And it's kind of got a similar vibe in this one, where if you've got lots of abilities that can deal damage or target enemy units, then you can draw cards. So Stupefy immediately comes to mind, which is target an enemy unit or target any unit, draw 1 and give it -1 might. Very, very efficient because that just costs 1. So Stupefy is definitely going to be a good card in an Ezreal deck. There's not like loads of cards that come to mind though in blue and purple which can target enemy cards outside of Stupefy though. So it will be interesting to see if there's enough to make this worth it. I mean, if you can find a lot of those cards, this card is going to be great. Like drawing cards off of a legend seems very, very strong. So very, very, very interested in Ezreal. And then there's also the Chem Baroness, which is blue and yellow, so the same colors as Lux and Victor. When you or an ally hold, so that's aimed at like multiplayer games where you do like 2v2 or 3v3 or something. So in a 1v1, it's just when you hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token. Exhausted, while your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your gold add an additional 1 energy. So this is going to be a card which like really looks to use lots of gold tokens. So for example, the battlefield we looked at earlier, which spawns gold tokens. Any ways that you can get gold tokens is going to be really, really good. And it also is a legend which wants to hold. And when you're within 3 points, so if you're at 5 points, or of course, potentially if you're at 6 with that one battlefield, but most likely when you're at 5 points, the gold is also going to give you an extra energy, which makes it even better. So there's also some synergy with like the arena's greatest battlefield, which is my favorite battlefield, which is that each player gets 1 point to start the game, because that makes this become more available. It's pretty good, I think. I quite like it. I quite like it. I think the gold is outstanding, and yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. So I like all of these legends somewhat. I think that this is going to probably prove to be the best one, but I think that all of these have some potential. So let's look at the mind cards. I haven't seen most of these. So this is a 1 energy, 1 power spell, Bellows Breath. It's an action speed, so you can play it during your turn or in showdowns, but you can't respond to enemy abilities with it. Unless, of course, you're in a showdown, then you can do what you want. And it's got repeat 1 ability, so you can do it twice. Costing either 1 energy and 1 power or 2 energy and 2 power, and you can deal 1 to up to 3 units at the same location. So you can't target the same unit twice unless, of course, you use the repeat ability. So you could deal 2 damage to 3 different units, but you could choose different targets, right? So if your opponent's got like, I don't know, 4 different cards at a battlefield, you could deal 2 to some of them and 1 to the other cards, right? Is it good? Is it good? I don't know. I'm not too impressed by it. It could be a good sideboard card, though, to deal with swarm decks, for example, right? Victor, of course, is a swarm deck. We saw like there's some other swarm decks being added into the mix as well. I'm definitely not blown away by this card on first look. It seems like 1 damage isn't that much, but it could be a good combat trick, right? Like good combat trick, but like 3 units at the same location is kind of niche already, to be honest. So I'm kind of unconvinced by this card quite a bit. I don't really rate it, but could be a good sideboard card to tech for Victor, right? If like swarm decks become top of the meta, this card's going to become a lot more relevant, that's for sure. 3 damage for 1 energy and 1 power is not bad, but it's not great. I don't really like this card, I think it's quite bad. We've got a 3 energy gear equipment, World Atlas. You can equip it for a power, and it gives +2 might. And when I hold, play 2 gold gear tokens exhausted. So that's obviously got a lot of synergy here with the Chem Baroness. Is this good? It's a bit niche as well, I think. It's like pretty expensive, right? You're paying a power to get +2 might and 2 gold gear tokens and 3 energy. It seems very expensive and very slow. I'm not too convinced by this one either. We've then got Premonition. Now this is a spicy card because it costs 2 energy and 3 power. That's a lot of power. But you can draw 3 cards. Wisdom through power, power through wisdom. So if you've got a blue seal, this is going to become a lot better because you can pay the power costs. If you've got gold, it becomes a lot better because you can pay the power costs. If you've got like Kaiser, this becomes a little bit better because you can pay the power cost as well. But 3 power is a lot of power. But card draw can't really be bad. Consult the Past is like the other card that you compare this to most, which is like the 4 energy draw 2, but that one's a hidden card, so you can pay 1 power to draw 2. If you compare this to Consult the Past, I do think it's quite a lot worse, but there's always going to be a deck which wants to play this card, to be honest. It's extremely expensive though. 2 energy and 3 power to draw 3, but drawing 3 is insane. If you've got like a bunch of resources, like in the late game, paying 2 energy to draw 3, like if you don't really care about recycling power costs at that time, it's got huge potential, particularly with the blue seal, with gold gear. Obviously it's a good card in the right deck, but it's extremely expensive. It's definitely not going to be a card you can play in every deck. And that also kind of highlights why I love the design of Riftbound with the power costs. Like this kind of card in another card game, like in Disney Lorcana, for example, this card would cost you like twice as much in terms of energy. It would cost you like 5. And in Lorcana, you only get like 1 energy essentially a turn. So more like akin to like 9 or 10, right? In a way, maybe more like 8 is kind of a fair comparison. Whereas in this game, it's very cheap in terms of energy cost, which means that you can play this alongside other cards and you're not like wasting a whole turn playing this. But of course, the power cost in the long run it is very bad. So it's a fascinating card. I really, really love it. Very, very cool design. Let's now look at the orange cards and starting off with the legends. All right, so Lucian we already saw. Again, not too convinced by Lucian as a legend. We've got Jax, which again, if I'm honest, I'm kind of skeptical about how good they are. We've then got Severe, the Battle Mistress. This is orange and purple. When you play, and this is the same as Misfortune. When you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted when one or more enemy units die ready me. So when you recycle a rune, you get a gold gear token. So basically, whenever you're recycling a rune, you're kind of getting that power back down the line in the form of a gold gear token. You're not getting that energy back though. I don't really like this one, I think. Like, you get the power back, but you still lose that energy. I don't know, it's interesting. I think that Misfortune is a really good legend, to be honest. But like, for whatever reason, like orange-purple decks outside of Dazzling Aurora aren't very good. Like, I've tried building like a non-Dazzling Aurora Misfortune deck, and as much as I love the legend, I don't really like the color pairing too much. And I'm not sure that this one is doing too much for me. It's interesting, but I'm quite skeptical about this one. And then we've got Fiora, which again, a lot of people are quite skeptical on. When one of your units becomes mighty, you may exhaust me to channel 1 rune exhausted. So this is kind of comparable to Volibear, but it is in a different color combination. But of course, orange is Dazzling Aurora. So if you wanted to play like an orange-yellow Dazzling Aurora deck, Fiora is an interesting one. Obviously, there's like a very good Fiora card in the first set, which could be your chosen champion, which is a 4 might card, which if it becomes mighty, does some cool stuff and has some buff synergy as well. So I think that Fiora could be good in a Dazzling Aurora deck. It's the same color combination as Set. Set Dazzling Aurora is something that people experimented with, but it didn't really catch on too much. Volibear, I would argue, is possibly a slightly better legend than this, and we haven't seen Volibear decks do particularly well, but I do think that there's definitely some potential for this with Dazzling Aurora. We'll have to wait and see. Outside of that, I imagine it's not going to be very good, but listen, a legend which synergizes with Dazzling Aurora, I don't think can be bad. So there's a lot of orange cards revealed already. The Body Domain. This is a 3 energy, 1 power, 3 might card, the Buru Captain. When you play me, you may draw 1 or buff me. Huh? That's pretty good. So this one is actually very comparable to a card in the first set in green, which is the Poro Herder, which is got the exact same stat line, the same cost, the same power. And that card is, if you have a Poro in play, you may draw 1 and buff me. And this card is the same. It doesn't, though, require any stipulation, but it can't do both. So I actually don't like this card particularly. I've been playing the Poro Herder in my Yasuo deck, and it's like pretty good, but costing a power is kind of sad. when I play the Poro Herder, like basically the Poro Herder has higher ceiling because it can do both, but lower floor because you might not have any Poros. I just think that I would rather play the Poro Herder, even though it is in a different color. I would rather have that higher ceiling, lower floor, where like, because the Poro Herder can be really good, and if it's really bad, you probably just find a way not to play it, like you discard it or whatever. Whereas this card is like always meh, you know? It's always quite meh. It's not bad by any stretch though. Being able to play me to draw one is not bad. It's the power cost which makes this card not too impressive. And the Poro Herder is very niche. You can't really play the Poro Herder in many decks because there's not many decks you would want to play 6 Poros. So this card's okay. It's not bad. But having been playing a lot of the Poro Herder this week, and like enjoying the card but not being blown away by it, I'm not very impressed by this one. It's not a bad card by any stretch. I think in like a sealed format, for example, it could be very, very good, but I doubt it's going to quite make the cut because of this power cost. The power cost is what really kind of kills this card, in my opinion. We've then got the Dauntless Vanguard, which is a 4 energy, 1 power card, 4 might, and when you play, you may play me to an occupied enemy battlefield. That's super awesome. We know that there's the Deadbloom Predator, which is one of the most expensive cards in the first set of Riftbound. And again, thank you to the channel sponsor Card Market. If you are looking at picking up singles, Card Market's the place to do it if you're in Europe. And the Dauntless Vanguard is like a much cheaper and less rare version of that. I think it's very good. I like this card a lot. You can disrupt your opponent. You can catch them off guard. I think this is a very strong card and it will see competitive play. I like it a lot. It's very, very cool. Obviously, the Deadbloom Predator is very good. It's got more stats, but it's also a lot more expensive. This is a card that you could play in a more aggressive style of deck. And yeah, it's very, very, very cool. I like it a lot. We've got a equipment now. It costs 2 and it costs 1 power to equip it. You get +2 might. Sure, very vanilla, but yeah. Unconvinced, but maybe in the right deck where you need lots of equipment, it's an additional equipment to add into your deck for more synergy, and it might be worth playing. Veteran Poro. I was just talking about the Poro Herder and saying how there are not many use cases of playing lots of Poros. I don't believe that the body domain has a Poro as of yet. I think it's the only one which didn't. So we finally get the Veteran Poro, and immediately in a orange and green deck, I'm thinking, oh, hello Poro Herder. It's a 2 energy, 2 might Poro with Weapon Master. When you play me, you may equip one of your equipments to me for a power less, even if it's already attached. Maybe. It can't be bad in the right deck, again. A lot of the other Poros are just kind of like generically good. Like you've got the purple Poro, which has vision. You've got the red Poro, which has deflect. You've got the green Poro, which has +1 when defending, and you've got the yellow Poro, which is +1 when attacking. This is the worst Poro to just play on curve as a 2 energy card, which is a big downside of it. But then you could also argue it's the best Poro to play later in the game, maybe. So yeah, it's interesting. Don't love it, but it's hard to evaluate like the Weapon Master or the equipment cards because it's a new mechanic. I haven't play tested any of it. I definitely think it's got a lot of potential, actually. I don't mind it whatsoever. We've got the Jewelfish, which is a 7 energy, 2 power, 6 might card, which also has Accelerate. So you can pay 8 energy and 3 power, and it will come in ready, which is very expensive for a 6 might card, but it's going to cost 2 energy less for each of your mighty units. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, mate, I think, in the right deck, right? If you've got 3 mighty units, this will cost you 1. It's ambitious, but doable in the right style of deck. So definitely one to keep an eye on in these all-out mighty builds. The fact that it can come in ready is pretty damn cool. One thing that's interesting, right? Let's say you had 4 mighty units. It would cost a total of 8 and 3 power. But would it also reduce the cost of this? Would it be a 0 energy card with 3 power? If that's the case, could be very, very cool. You could just close out the game. Imagine you just play 3 Jewelfish for nothing, right? Just recycle 9 runes, but 0 energy paid. You could do like all sorts. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's not going to happen, but someone could do it at some point. I quite like this card in the right deck. I think it's a good finisher. Because you don't really care about recycle. Like, the important thing to realize is yeah, okay, like recycling, the power cost is very, very expensive, but if you win the game that turn, it doesn't matter. So it's a very good finisher card, right? You've set up a big board, you're close to winning, you just need one big push to clear the last battlefield, and this is a great way of doing it if you could play these on the cheap. We've got Strike Down, which is a 3 energy, 1 power spell card. Choose an equipped friendly unit. It deals damage equal to its might to an enemy unit, then detach an equipment from it. Is that all it takes? It's an interesting one, kind of similar to like a challenge or something like this, but the card, your card doesn't take any damage back. And I would assume that well, almost certainly, in fact, I guarantee you, the equipment, let's say the equipment is giving like +3 might to the card, that's also going to contribute towards the damage. So I think this is quite good. It is a spell that costs a power and you need a unit that's been equipped for it to work. And then it's also good in maybe a deck where you are happy for the equipment to be detached from something. If there's some synergy with like detached equipment and then you reattach equipment for free to something else, it becomes a lot better. So I think this one's good. We've got the War Mog's Armor, which is a 1 energy equipment, which gives +1 might. And when I conquer, buff me. And it costs 1 power to equip. Pretty good. I think this is pretty good, to be honest. Being able to get buffs in the right decks could be very important. Maybe in like a set deck, it's a different option compared to like the 2-cost gear, right? It's interesting. Like on turn 1, when you're going second, you play a 2-drop and you play this, and then you don't equip it until later. Could be good. Could be good. I quite like this one. Here to Help, which is a Poro spell, 2 energy, 1 power, and it's a hidden card as well, so you can just play 1 power to hide it. And it's action speed when played as a spell. You may play a unit from your hand to a battlefield you control, reducing its cost by 3. So if you play it as a spell, it's 2 energy and a power to reduce something by 3. So you're kind of like paying 1 power to save 1 energy when played as a spell, which is not bad as a tempo play, but obviously hidden cards are generally best played from hidden, playing a power to reduce the cost of something by 3 the next turn. It's like a lot of tempo, right? Especially again, if you've got seals to reduce the cost and just hide something for like the cost of a seal, or if you've got like the gold gear. I think this card's very, very good and it will see competitive play. I like this card quite a lot. Like you hide something and then the next turn you can reveal it when your opponent like moves in to attack, and then suddenly you could play a unit from your hand during your opponent's turn. Huh? Okay, this card's crazy. This is like a very, 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 very fascinating card because it's a combat trick, right? As a hidden card. It gives you a way of playing a card during your opponent's turn that you would not otherwise be able to do, right? Like we know that there's Shen in the first set, which is a card which can kind of comparable to like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Hand trap in a way. It can be played from your hand as if it's like a spell. Well, Here to Help turns any card, any unit in your hand into a card which you could play to a battlefield during your opponent's turn. Which is very, very fascinating. Very, very, very fascinating. I love this card a lot. I think it's very, very good. Okay, we've got Kato the Arm, which is a 4 energy, 1 power card with 3 might. It has Deflect. When I move to a battlefield, give a friendly unit my keywords and plus might equal to my might this turn. So if you could give this keywords, right, like give it ganking with the card I revealed, for example, it would give something else ganking that turn. It would obviously get Deflect. Maybe it has some sort of equipment, right, as well, attached to it, which gives it some other keywords. That would be the most obvious use case. You have something equipped to this, which gives it an additional keyword and some additional might, and then you move it to a battlefield, and you could give one of your other units that additional might, not just +3, but let's say like +5, and Deflect, and a keyword for the turn. Seems like a lot of moving parts for really to make this card worth it, though, to be honest. 4 energy and 1 power for 3 might and Deflect. It's not great, but it's more than that, right? Because like at worst case, it's kind of like 6 might, because this has got 3 might, but you get something else with +3 at minimum and Deflect. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. There's a lot of moving parts, but if you can like build around this card and have lots of synergy, it could be outstanding. But if you just like try and put it into your deck, it's going to be mediocre. That would be probably my opinion on that one. We've got Lucian, which is, of course, a potential chosen champion for the Lucian legend. It's 3 energy, 3 might, which is really, really good for a chosen champion because you can play this on your first turn when going second. As the Weapon Master ability, which you can equip one of your equipment to me for a power less, even if it's already attached. The first time I conquer, each turn ready me. So you can conquer with him, move him back to the base, bish, bash, bosh, rinse, repeat. It's pretty good. I quite like it. Quite like it. Here's the alternative art for Lucian. And we've got Trinity Force, which is a 4 energy gear, which when it's attached, when I hold, score 1 point, spicy, +2 energy. Ooh, it's like an Ari equipment. So Ari is a card which when holds, scores a point, and it's a card I like a lot. And this is an equipment which is fascinating. I like it a lot. I really, really like it. Obviously, it's got big synergy with Time Warp in an orange and blue deck. Time Warp is that 10 energy card, which basically you get a second turn, and holding points would repeat, right? So you're getting a point for holding, you get an additional point for holding with this, you play Time Warp, you get another turn, you hold again, you get another point for holding with this, you could just win the game on the spot. Very, very fascinating. It's very expensive, but if you can find a way of reducing the cost of this gear, for example, to play it as less of a tempo loss, then this card could be absolutely game-breakingly, outstandingly good. We've got Yone, which is a 5 energy, 1 power, 5 might card, also with Weapon Master. When I conquer an open battlefield, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit in a base. Oh, okay, I'm immediately looking at playing Yone in a orange and purple deck with Fight or Flight. I move my opponent's card at a battlefield back to their base with Fight or Flight. I move Yone in for free, it's empty, and then I can deal damage, his damage, which is 5 to their card at their base. And of course, if this is equipped with something, that could be even more than 5 might. I think this card is outstanding. This is a brilliant card. Being able to deal damage to enemy cards at the base is quite rare, and usually you're paying a real premium to do so. Admittedly, this card is costing you 5 and a power, and you only get 5 might for it. You do have that Weapon Master ability as an additional bonus. I like this card a lot. A very, very cool card. Again, Fight or Flight for me is the card that this seems to synergize with particularly well. I told you there's a lot of orange cards. We've got Jax. This could be your chosen champion for the Jax Legend, which was this one where you can attach gear and reattach it. And Jax Unrelenting is a 4 energy, 1 power card with 3 might. That power cost does make him a lot worse as a chosen champion, in my opinion, but of course you can still use it. And it has the Weapon Master ability. When you attach an equipment to me, you may pay 1 energy to draw 1. That is pretty sick because, of course, the Jax Legend, you can detach, reattach, all that sort of stuff. So it is like a card draw engine. And it's got Weapon Master. When you play me, you may equip one of your equipment to me for a power less. So pretty cool card. It's a card draw tool. I'm still a little bit unconvinced by Jax, though, to be honest. Little bit unconvinced. Here's Jax. Same card. That's the normal. That's the showcase. And yeah, that's all the orange cards. So let's look on to the next domain. All right, now we're on to the yellow cards order. We're saving purple for last because purple is the one I'm most excited for. Rek'Sai has a yellow champion, which seems outstanding. When I attack, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, then recycle the rest. If the played card is a unit, you may play it here. What does that mean? That means you can look at the top 2 cards when you attack. If you pick a unit, you can essentially play it to an occupied battlefield alongside your Rek'Sai to immediately attack. Could be absolutely brilliant. I mean, one thing to consider, imagine, right, you Rek'Sai and you see a Rek'Sai on the top 2 cards of your deck. You play the Rek'Sai. Is that Rek'Sai also attacking? Probably. I think it might be, which would mean that you could, in theory, get 3 Rek'Sai. You attack with a Rek'Sai. You see the other 2 in your deck. Rek'Sai, Rek'Sai. Bam, bam, bam. Interesting. I could be wrong, but I think that might be the case. Which also there's an argument to say that this is not necessarily the card you would want as your chosen champion because you would want it in your deck for that kind of combo. Obviously, if it's in your champion zone, you can't see it on the top 2 cards. So that's something interesting to consider. I'm not sure it's necessarily the best chosen champion. It's definitely not bad. It's a very, very strong card. But in an ideal world, you'd rather have a chosen champion that doesn't have a power cost, is maybe a little bit cheaper to fill out a nice curve. But it's definitely a very, very, very good card. And I don't think you're going to be too unhappy to have it as your chosen champion if there isn't a better option available. There is the alt art, great flavor text here. Brilliant. Just a reminder of the other legends in yellow. We've got Asir, which is like the Weapon Master and Sand Soldier combo. We've got the Renata Glask with the Ken Baronesque, which has holding synergy with gold gears. And finally, we've got Fiora, and there is actually a Fiora chosen champion. Both the artworks on these Fioras look like showcases. This is not a showcase, but it looks like it. And then this art, I actually honestly prefer the normal art on this one. Fiora worthy, 3 energy, 3 might. Insanely good chosen champion, by the way. Wow, you can play this on your first turn when going second. I love it. Teemo is one of my favorite champions, if not my favorite champion in the first set, because if I miss a 2-drop, I can just play him down. But he's kind of lame to do that. But this 3 energy, 3 might, no power cost as a chosen champion is absolutely crackers good. Like so good, I can't even begin to explain. Gives you so much consistency. When a unit you control becomes mighty, you may pay a power to ready it. Interesting. Interesting. I don't think this is a card that you're going to want in your main deck, but I just think it's a very good chosen champion. Just play it down on your first turn when going second every single time. And when you're going first, you can play it on your second turn. Pretty cool. Obviously, you're wanting lots of stuff to become mighty because then you can channel Ruin Exhausted. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how easy it is to do that. The fact it is 3 might means that if you buff this, it's not going to become mighty itself, which is a downside. But maybe you can find a way to buff it up to increase its might by 2, right? Give it a buff and then give it +1 from some combat trick or something like this. Or some equipment, of course, as well, I suppose would also contribute to making something mighty. I would assume if you give this +2 might from an equipment, I think it would be considered mighty. We've got the Honest Broker, which is a 2 energy, 2 might card with Death Knell. Play a gold gear token exhausted. Brilliant card. Absolutely great. That is a very, very good card. I like it a lot. Really, really good turn 1 play. Can't go wrong. We've got the BF Sword, which is a 4 energy equipment. Very expensive, but it certainly is big because you get +3 might. Very expensive. But again, if you can find a way of like reducing the initial cost or like cheat this out somehow, it could become very, very powerful. We've got the Unsung Hero, which is another 2 energy, 2 might card. I love 2 energy cards. I'm always interested. This one also has Death Knell. If I was mighty, draw 2. Seems ambitious. But if you could give this like +3 from the BF Sword, for example, yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, it's not, yeah, I mean, I don't know about this one. That seems very hard to pull off. +3 seems a bit optimistic, but it's got the Elite tag, which could be relevant at some point in the future. Having played Runeterra, like the Elite tag was very, very relevant for some decks. Not something we currently have, but maybe down the line that's something to keep an eye on. We've got the Altar of Memories, which is a 2 energy gear. This one is not equipment. When a friendly unit dies, you may exhaust me to draw 1. Seems good. Then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your main deck. Okay, so it's like a filter card. It's not actually a card draw, but it is card filtering. But it only works when something dies. Maybe in a set deck it could work, because I think the card... Does it die? In a set deck, does it die? I think it does die, but you just recall it instead. But then maybe because you're recalling it instead, it doesn't actually die. Not really too impressed by this one. But with like Rek'Sai, knowing what's on top of your deck, that could actually be relevant, right? Like the Rek'Sai Legend and Champion are all about looking at the top cards of your main deck. So maybe there's some synergy there. Well, there definitely is some synergy there, but is there enough synergy there to justify playing it? Unconvinced by that one, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's crackers. It's definitely got some potential down the line as well, even if not immediately. We've got the Blade of the Ruined King, 3 energy, 1 might. It's an equipment that gives +4. And when you equip, kill a friendly unit. Ooh, spicy, Viego. Kind of unconvinced by this one. Costs you a power to play it to begin with. Costs you a power to attach. +4 is a lot, and you've got to kill a friendly unit. Obviously, if you can find like some big synergy where you want to kill stuff, it becomes a lot better. I don't really see it for now. Obviously, in like a Victor deck, you could kill a token and it doesn't become as bad, but yeah, seems like a lot of costs to just get +4 might. So expensive, so expensive. Like, this is expensive, this is expensive, this is expensive, and this is expensive. You're paying like 4 different costs to get +4 might on something. It seems a bit too much. A lot too much, actually. All right, that's all the yellow cards. Now onto the Chaos cards. As a reminder, we've got Draven with the Chosen Champion in purple we looked at earlier, or the Champion unit we looked at earlier. Definitely a card I think is quite interesting. We've also got Aurelia. There is a purple Aurelia as an option as well. It's a 4 energy with 1 power cost. So you could play this on your second turn if you're going first or second, but it will cost you a power. 4 might. Your spells that choose me cost 1 energy or power less. Interesting. None can do what I do, so I will do it. When you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me and pay an energy to ready it, a power to ready it. So, like, yeah, I mean, the synergy here, right? You target Aurelia, it's going to cost less. Like, let's say you were to stupefy her, for example, which obviously you can't do in orange and in green and purple, but like, let's say you were to stupefy her, for example, the stupefy would cost you 0. It's a very bad example, but you could like retreat her for 0. Obviously, like on guard would cost you 0. Discipline would cost you 1. Something that costs a power in particular, right, would be good. None can do what I do, so I will do it. I'm not too impressed by this card, but also not loads of synergy is directly coming to mind. I really like the other Aurelia, to be honest, and this one I'm a bit less impressed by. But it's certainly interesting, and a nice alt art for that one too. Ezreal was one of the other legends that we already looked at, which has a draw synergy when you're targeting opponent stuff with gear and spells. And then Sivir, the other one, when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play gold gear token exhausted. And when 1 or more enemy units die, ready me. Those are the champions. But cool shot. Oh my goodness, I've been waiting to talk about this card. My favorite card from the first set is Nocturne. Nocturne's so underrated, guys. Nocturne is such an insanely good card, and it just became so much better with Cool Shot. Look at the top 2 cards of your main deck, draw 1 and recycle the other. It's very similar to stacked deck, except it costs you a power, but you can also repeat it. So you can pay 2 power, 0 energy to look at the top 4 cards of your main deck, draw 2 and recycle the other one, right? Like the fact that you can repeat this means that you are able to actually increase the cards in your hand with this. If you think about stacked deck, you play stacked deck, that's -1 card in hand, and you add 1 card to hand, right? So it replaces itself. With Cold Shot, if you use the repeat ability, you are playing 1 card from hand and adding 2 cards into your hand. So it is actually drawing you cards. Okay, it costs you 2 power, but a purple seal is going to be particularly good with this card. Of course, the gold gear tokens too. This card is outstanding with Nocturne, because of course, if you see Nocturne, you can add the other card to your hand, and you can play Nocturne for a power cost. So lots of power costs, but crazy. 0 energy. Such a good card. Such a good card. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to be playing 3 copies of this in a lot of my purple decks. Probably my favorite, definitely my favorite card revealed from the set so far. Doran's Ring, which is a 1 energy gear / equipment, which you get +1 when I conquer, discard, then draw 1. It's okay. Sure, it's not bad. It's like a traveling merchant effect on a equipment. Definitely not bad. We've got the Loyal Pup. This art reminds me very much of my Teemo days in Runeterra. 3 energy, 3 might. When you defend at a battlefield, you may move me there. Damn, that's good. That's a sick card. Arf! Great flavor text. I like this card a lot. When you defend at a battlefield, you may move me there. Pretty cool. 3 energy, 3 might. It's not bad. Like for an ability like this, it's all right. It's not great, but it's interesting and I like it quite a bit. It's a cool card, that's for sure. We've got the Overzealous Fan, which is 2 energy, 2 might. When I defend, you may kill me to move an attacking unit to its base. Like Draven says, hit him where it hurts. Pretty good in like an aggro style deck, right? Where you don't, or like in an aggro mirror where you don't want your opponent to score points. How often would you actually want to do that, right? I mean, if you compare this to like a fight or flight, It's kind of like a similar effect, but you would play it down and you get a fight or flight ability later. I think it's actually good. It sounds kind of bad, but it's just a guy that you just play down on your first turn, and then you ideally want to trigger this quite late in the game. This is like an example of a card which is actually quite good as a 2-drop in the late game, right? It's not, you don't want to kill it in the early game. You're going to lose too much tempo. But if you're at like 7 points, this card becomes quite insane to have down available. I like this card actually. Initially I was like, but now the more I think about it, the more I like it. Very cool card. We've also got another 2-drop, which 1 might, the Treasure Hunter. When I move, play a gold gear token exhausted. Oh, that's good. Damn, that's good. I like this. I like this a lot. Nice synergy in Yasuo. My Yasuo deck that I've been playing, bro, I never have runes. I always have to pay too many power costs. I get very sad that I can't do my cool Yasuo move 3 times synergy because I literally don't have enough runes available. So a way of getting more runes with movement synergy is really, really good. Like, really good. You play this on turn 1, you move it to the battlefield, you gain a gear token, right? Then you play Tide Turner, you swap the positions of this and the Treasure Hunter. You use your Yasuo legend ability. Suddenly you've got all kinds of gear tokens. Okay, it only has 1 might. That's not a lot of might, but it's like a ramp card, essentially, in purple. I like it a lot. It can't be bad. I like it. I like it a lot. Really good card to play on your first turn, I think. We've got a 3 energy gear/equipment, Boots of Swiftness, with the equip ability for 1 power, plus 2 might, and it gives something ganking. Good. Like the card I revealed, giving ganking to something is good. It is expensive though. I definitely prefer my card reveal quite a bit more to the Boots of Swiftness. Just a few more cards to look at. The Wind Singer, 2 energy, 1 might, also with Hidden. That's very interesting. When you play me, you may return another unit at a battlefield with 3 might or less to its owner's hand. It's like a gust. It's like a gust that you can hide that's a unit. I like this card a lot. Like, I think it's very easy to underestimate how good a 1 might card is on the first turn. Like, it sounds really bad, like, because there's some cards which are kind of like 3 might for 2, like some of the Poros are sort of pseudo 3 might. But while you don't really want to play this on your first turn, it just is an option. It gives your deck consistency, and it's a very, very good hidden card to surprise your opponent, like a gust, right? It's kind of like, would you rather play this or Gust? Probably you'd rather play Gust in most decks, but in a Teemo deck in particular, where you can hide this for 1 energy, it's very, very good. Also, a deck where you're playing Seals, for example, where those power costs become more easy to pay. It's a very cool card. I like it quite a lot. It's cool. That's a cool card. We've got Switcheroo, which is a great name, and it's 2 energy, 2 power, also hidden. So definitely you want to hide this. Because otherwise you're paying 2 energy and 2 power compared with 1 power if you hide it. And of course in a Teemo deck you could pay 1 energy to play this. So I'm already, before I even know what the ability does, I'm already thinking this card's going to be crazy good in a Teemo deck. Swap the mights of 2 units at the same battlefield this turn. Whew. Important to know, a hidden card can only, if you reveal it from hidden, it can only target cards at that battlefield, which does make it a little bit niche. So like basically you hide it and your opponent actually needs to move into the battlefield to attack you, and then it could be really, really good. So it's actually kind of niche. The ceiling of this card is through the roof good. It's a big threat. Always look out for the little guy. 2 energy, 2 power for that ability. It's pretty good as a spell though. I gotta say it's pretty good as a spell, particularly because you can do it in your opponent's turn. It's actually better as a spell than a hidden card. Like, if you can pull this off as a hidden card, it's crazy value, right? And part of the value of hidden cards is like the threat of it. Like, your opponent's not going to know what you've got there. At some point, they might be forced to move in, and then bam, switcheroo, surprise. A lot of the time when you hide this, though, it's just going to sit there and do nothing, right? Because then it just stays there. Your opponent never moves into the battlefield. So you can hide this as a card very late in the game, and it can be very good to win you the game. But actually, this is best used as a spell probably a lot of the time. The ceiling of this is very, very high. I like the card a lot. I like it a lot. Very cool card. Finally, we've got the last rights, which is fitting. 3 energy gear / equipment. The equip cost is a purple power and recycle 2 cards from your trash. or the bin, as I like to call it. Yeah, okay, maybe not. So there's some like anti-synergy there with Dr. Mundo, for example. There's some anti-synergy there with Vi, but you give +2 might to a card, and when I conquer or hold, you may play a unit from your trash. Still pay its costs. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, no doubt about it. Because there's also there's some anti-synergy with Dr. Mundo, but there's also some synergy there with Dr. Mundo, right? Like you discard a Dr. Mundo if you're traveling merchant, and then you have a way of getting it back without like the harrowing, which is seeing play in Teemo decks right now. The harrowing is a 6 energy 2 power card, which allows you to play a card from your discard, still paying the power costs. So if you use the harrowing on Dr. Mundo, it only costs you 6 energy instead of 8, but you pay 4 power. Whereas if you use this with to get a Dr. Mundo back, you're paying 3 energy to get this down in the first place, a power, you recycle 2, but something has +2 might. I don't know, it's interesting. It's a epic card in terms of rarity. It's very interesting. These gear cards are very, very difficult to evaluate, in my opinion. I'm kind of unconvinced by quite a few of them that cost this much to play in the first place. But we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely got potential. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much to Riot for giving me this amazing reveal, the Gem Jammer. I love this card. It's so cool. Thank you also to the channel sponsor, Card Market, for continuing to support my content. Card Market are awesome, and I really appreciate and I'm grateful to be working with them. Thank you all for watching. If you watched this far, give it a like. It was a long one, but I look forward to bringing you more card reveals in the next few days. Cheers, bye, see ya, tschüss.